I want to encourage somebody out there who's thinking about quitting and giving up. Somebody who has been praying for years for things to turn around. You're thinking about quitting, you're thinking about giving up. You are folding, you are caving in. This is for you.
You're in this storm and you're down on your knees and you're cold and you're weak and you feel like this is the end. You have a choice to either give up or keep going. Give up or get up.
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes things go real well, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life. So you've got to have some reasons that when life knocks you down, and it's going to, it's going to knock you down. When people disappoint you, and that's going to happen. When they betray you, and that's going to happen. When they lie to you, and that's going to happen. When they say, oh, you can count on me, and they won't show up, and that's going to happen. When you want to throw in the towel and give up yourself, and that's going to happen. When life collapses on you and catch you on the blind side, what reason can you remember that you can call on, that you can reach on, that can make you get back up? Find that reason. Because when life had knocked me down, I said, life, I'm doing this because I want to make my mama proud of me. I'm doing this because I want my children to have a better life than what I have. I'm doing this because all my life I've been told I'd be a loser, that I wouldn't make it. I'm doing this to make them a lie. I believe, like Frank Sinatra, he said, the best revenge in life is massive success. I'm doing this so I can become massively successful. And with that kind of courage, with that kind of affirmation and reason to empower me, I got a saying that when life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. When things don't work out for you, when things happen that you could not anticipate, what are the reasons that you can think of that can keep you strong, that can keep you in the game, that will be your rod and staff to comfort you, that can be your bridge over troubled waters? Those reasons are very important. Nietzsche said, if you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow. So find out the reasons that you do what you do. Find out the reasons that will make you strong, that will make you walk by faith and not by sight, that will make you pursue your dream when everybody is against you or don't believe in you no more. And let me tell you something, that's a lonely feeling. It's a lonely feeling, particularly people that you're doing it for, or people that stand to benefit the most, or people who should be the #1 members in the encouragement club, but they end up saying, you can't do it, and they become members of the discouragement club. Oh, it hurts very badly. I know what that's like. Have people that you love close to you that look at you with that look and say, why don't you try something else?
There are a few people in this room that know what it's like to be in a situation where everything in your flesh is saying give up. And yet you're in a situation where sometimes you're standing not because you're so strong, you just don't have any other option. You're just backed in a corner, you know, and it's not that you didn't think about quitting. It's not that you're so tenacious and so strong, but life has got you pressed in a corner and you simply cannot let go of anything. And you have to stand there in the middle of the storm and keep pumping your head with the faith to persevere and just say, just hang in there. Just don't give up. Just don't give up. Some kind of way you're going to get through this. Great people are people who don't cave in.
We all go through disappointments in life and things we don't understand. It's easy to get discouraged and lose our passion. But God won't allow anything to happen that will keep you from your purpose. And sometimes He'll move a person out of your life because they're limiting your growth. If you only knew what God was up to, you wouldn't live upset. If you only knew how He's going to connect the dots in your life, you'd get your passion back. Maybe you went through a loss. I know that's difficult, but if you only knew the new doors that are going to open, if you only knew that your latter days will be better than your former days, the best part of your life is still in front of you. You may be off course, thinking you've missed your destiny. If you only knew what great lengths God is going to go to get you back on course. You can't outrun the mercy of God. Don't sit around condemned, listening to the accuser. If you only knew what God was going to do, how He's not just going to restore you, He's going to put you back into purpose. The assignment He has for you didn't get canceled because you took a detour. You're still going to see dreams come to pass. If you only knew what God was doing behind the scenes, if you only knew how He's fighting battles for you, then you would trust Him. You would live from a place of peace. You wouldn't fight all the things you don't like. The disappointments, the betrayals. It was uncomfortable. It didn't make sense, but you wouldn't see your greatness without those challenges. You may have made mistakes, gone through bad breaks. God is saying to you, if you only knew how I'm going to make miracles out of your mistakes. You may have some big obstacles. You don't see how you can overcome the sickness, how you can accomplish your dream. But if you only knew who our God is, our God is alive. He still makes rivers out of deserts. He still brings walls down. Life may have thrown you a curve. You've settled where you are, thinking this is as good as it gets. Just accept those bad breaks limited you. That person that walked away soured your life. God is saying, if you only knew what I'm about to do, I'm about to honor you in front of your enemies. I'm about to free you from what looks permanent. I'm about to bring someone into your life better than you've imagined. The mistakes you made didn't cancel your destiny. You're about to see God show out in your life. See, we get stuck in the heartache, the disappointment, the shame. I should have done better. What was wrong with me? God knows we're human. Now, I'm not saying about being loose and doing whatever you want. When down deep you want to do the right thing, but you make mistakes, that is not going to stop your purpose. What will stop you is if you start living condemned, no passion. You can come up with good reasons why you can't be happy, why your business can't succeed. In your own strength, that may be true, but you're not on your own. The God who breathed life into you is saying, if you only knew the favor I'm about to show you, how I'm going to connect the dots, those things you don't understand that were painful, I saw them and they're going to all work for your good. Sometimes we're disappointed over what we've lost. The person walked away. We don't understand why it didn't work out. It meant so much to me. If you only knew where those disappointments are leading you, like with Joseph, you had to get pushed out. They had to be jealous. It's not that God has forgotten about you, it's that He's positioning you for greater influence. Will you keep a good attitude, not get bitter, not think you've seen your best days? Stay in faith when it doesn't make sense. Do the right thing when the wrong thing has happened. You've been through disappointments, injustice. That's a sign that something awesome is on the way. What God is about to do in your life will not just make up for every wrong, but it will be so rewarding you won't think about what you lost. Try a different approach and say, God, I trust you. If you only knew how He's going to connect the dots, you wouldn't fight everything that doesn't go your way. How your poor choices are not going to stop your destiny, then you'd get your passion back. You'd stir your faith up and start dreaming again, start believing again. If you only knew the gifts God has for you, you would believe big. You'd get rid of the guilt, let go of the discouragement, and get ready for something that you haven't seen. Chains that have held you back are being broken right now. Strongholds in your mind are coming down. The disappointments, the people that tried to stop you, it's all working for your good.
It will be all right in the end. Trust God and believe in good things to come.
If you want to kill a big dream, tell it to a small-minded person.
Beware of vision, dream, and passion killers. Family and friends, in most cases, sad to even say this, family and friends in most cases will be the first to try and talk you out of something that you're passionate, excited about, and that you have a vision for.
Who in your life right now comes up with a problem when you try to think through a solution? So when you say, I want to start my own business, I want to do Shopify, I want to do real estate, I want to create an information product, or whatever it is that you want to do, who in your life tells you you're nuts, tells you you're crazy, tells you that you should think through it more to stop being a dreamer, and you're ignoring it?
You're obsessed with what other people think about you. The thing that's going to kill your dream is your addiction to other people's approval.
You don't have to always inform everyone of your next move. You don't have to tell them about your business deals. You don't have to tell them about anything. You should seek assistance in fulfilling your needs by being secretive to a certain extent.
You know, if you don't surround yourself with other dreamers, here's what I know. If 9 of your friends are broke, you're going to be the 10th one. That's it. If 7 of your friends smoke, you're going to be number 8. If you stay with that circle of friends, you've got to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Most of the people that have no dreams will wake up every day trying to talk you out of your dreams. They have no goals. They have nothing that they're ambitious about. So they will talk you out of all the shit that you're excited about. It's really not expected of them to support you and have your back anyway. They life ain't shit, and if you're trying to do something with your life, they're gonna try and figure out a way to shut you and your plans down as well.
And here's the thing I want you to know right now. Most of the time you go, oh, I can handle that negative person, my negative parent or boyfriend or girlfriend or friend or relative. No, you really can't. No, I'm being honest with you, you can't, because I had it my whole life. Even though you fight through it, you know they're wrong. If just 5% of their own insecurities, their lack of confidence to go for what they really want in life, if just 5% of that sticks in your life, it will create you playing small.
Trying to prove people wrong or right about you is a cheap level of motivation, and it will wear out. In other words, it's not the lack of it. It's not the best type. It's the symptom of the same disease. Right. So proving your family wrong or right is a symptom of the same disease, which is you are still obsessed with what other people are thinking about you and not doing things that make you happy, that enrich you, that fulfill your soul. And so the irony about spending your life worrying about what everybody else thinks about you, here's the irony, is that those people will never be thought about after they're dead. So they spend their life obsessing with everyone thinks about them, only to die and have no one ever remember them. Because people that are so obsessed with what other people think about them never really ever fulfill their potential. So once you can drop that addiction, whether it's friends, strangers, or your parents, and you begin to do things that fulfill you, that make you happy, that change other people's lives by your contribution, now you can be remembered. Now your life echoes into eternity, even if it was a quiet life.
Now, Albert Einstein had a quote. He said, imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. This is important information. Now, let me tell you the problem with your imagination. Problem with your imagination is you tell it to the wrong people. Do you know how many times God has showed you something in your imagination that you knew was just for you? You were so excited when it came to you, you went and you shared it with your family and friends. You know what they did? They shot it down. You know why they shot it down? Because they couldn't see it. You know why they couldn't see it? Because God didn't show it to them. He showed it to you. He showed you the evidence of things not seen. See, you gotta be careful when you share your imagination with small-minded people. Nobody else can see your imagination but you.
If you just make a decision, it can be sometimes the day that starts you on a brand new journey. Maybe a decision you've postponed, and now you understand the penalty of postponing that decision. You've got to do something, and finally you come to the conclusion, today is the day. I now decide. And whether you decide on a new direction, whether you decide to act when before you haven't acted, deciding can be such an incredibly important, very exciting, inspirational day. So that can be an incredible source of inspiration. Now, if you don't follow through, it's not going to last all that long. If you decide and then, postpone and you decide but you still don't get to it for a week or a month or a year, soon all that energy and that source of inspiration is all dissipated. So deciding is inspiring, but not for that long. But once you decide, it can be a very powerful day. But now, of course, you must follow through.
Everything I've ever done started with a fear. But the best way for me to overcome fear is the dream has to be bigger than the fear. That's the only way you turn around and run at it. I just want something so great. I aim for stuff so big that the dream is bigger than the fear.
You cannot believe what can happen to your self-esteem. And many of you have already experienced it. I'm just asking you to begin something new in all the areas of your life. I'm asking you to start taking that stuff now that's in your head, that imagination, which is very powerful. And it's a great source of inspiration in itself. But then I'm asking you then to decide, use that inspiration. Then I'm asking you to make plans, begin to make plans, use that inspiration. And then if you take that first step, it can be the first step of an incredible journey. And beginning can be many things. Beginning a new commitment to learning. You say, I'm going to have a library second to none, and I bought the first book of my new library today. I'm going to be surrounded by information and inspiration. I've gotten started. This is just the first of many, many books. This is the first of a whole flow of information for me. This is the first time. Remember that. Beginning is a fantastic source of inspiration. Planning is an incredible source of inspiration. Deciding is an unbelievable source of inspiration. But now beginning only lasts so long. Progress. One of the greatest sources of inspiration is progress. Once you've gotten started, now you proceed, you progress. Now you go to class the second week, you go to class the third week. But it's not only progressing in terms of time, it's progressing in terms of what you're learning, progressing in terms of getting the information that you hadn't discovered before. Now you're excited about that. When you start jogging around the block, and at first it's a little difficult, and then it's 2 blocks, and then you go around 4 or 5 times. But then you notice you're breathing easier. You notice when you go up a flight of stairs, you're not out of breath. And it suddenly occurs to you, in a fairly short period of time, you're making progress. Then when you start making progress in your business, your ability to make contacts, your ability to talk to people. Being so shy, you decided one day, hey, I've had enough with being too shy. I've made the decision, I'm making some plans, I'm going to begin talking to people. And you start, and at first it's difficult. But then, very quickly, and it doesn't take a year, I'm telling you, it doesn't take a month, it doesn't take a week. I promise you, even though you're a little bit shy, if you'll just start to introduce yourself, if you'll just start to talk to someone you've never talked to before, but also understanding that with this new skill now, with this new ability, and with my progress, no telling what I can accomplish.
I really came close once, about 3 years ago. She was pretty, tall, trim. We both liked movies. I liked football, and she didn't mind football that much, so that was okay. But I really wanted to be sure we were doing the right thing. You know, marriage is such a big step. It's a lifelong commitment. So we were talking about the future, what our life might be like. And just like that, she said a couple of things that really bothered me. So I wanted to make double sure I was marrying the right girl. So I went home one night and I wrote down all the things that I wanted our relationship to be. I spelled everything out really clearly. I mean, I really thought this thing through. Religion, children, where we'd live, who our friends would be. Because I didn't want there to be any doubts or misunderstandings. I wanted it to be clear. I even mentioned a couple of her bad habits. I thought it'd be a good idea if she had just a little constructive criticism. Well, the next time we got together, I brought this document out, and I thought that we would have a nice, easy conversation about it.
and you couldn't believe her reaction. She blew up. I couldn't believe it. She told me straight where to go, and she called our engagement off right then and there. She actually said, "I don't need a boss, George, so just forget it." And you know, in thinking back, maybe I did go a little overboard, but it just seems to me that making that big a decision, you can't be too careful, right?
Wrong, George. Absolutely wrong. You can be too careful. In fact, you were too careful. The test of a successful person is not the ability to eliminate all problems before they arise, but rather to meet and work out difficulties when they do arise. We must be willing to make an intelligent compromise with perfection, or else we will wait forever because conditions will never be right. Cross bridges when you come to them, not before.
About 2 years ago, my wife and I lived in an apartment, one of those places out in the suburbs. It wasn't too big, but it was kind of nice. But it really cost a mint to rent, $750 a month, which was a lot, and we'd been kind of saving up some money to buy a place of our own, knowing that that would take a long time. But what would happen is every time I made out the rent check, I thought, no, there's got to be a better way. This is not what I want to be doing. So one day when I was making out the rent check, I said to my wife, I said, Susan, let's go buy a place of our own. And she looked at me and she said, well, yeah, we can't do that. We've only got $6,000 in the bank. We need at least twice that much to make a down payment. And I said, well, nah, there's got to be a way to do this. I mean, people buy houses all the time. And why don't we just go for it and see if we can make it happen? So she said, okay, let's give it a try. And we started to look for places. We looked for about a week or so and came up with a nice place that we needed $15,000 to make a down payment for, which meant we needed to come up with another $9,000. It turned out we couldn't borrow the money from a bank. We went around to all of our banks, and we're kind of stuck for a bit, but then, see, it was a new house, and I thought I could go to the builder and maybe he could loan it to me. And I did, and he went with the idea. And that meant we only had to come up with another $450 a month to pay back this loan, because we're going to pay it back over a 2-year period. And we sat down and redid our budget and squeezed another $200 out of it. So we needed to find another $250. And then Susan had an idea. She said, well, wait a minute, I can maybe go talk to my boss because he's advertising for another part-time person. And she did. She explained the situation. We needed another $250, and she knew he couldn't afford to give her a raise. But if she could do this other job, he would get a good employee, we could get the money, and everybody be happy. Well, the guy was so surprised, he said, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. So we did it. Everybody was happy. We're paying the house off now. We're living in a nice place. And I guess where there's a will, there is a way.
Jim and Susan get A's for action on this one. They didn't let obstacles stand in their way, and they didn't wait for things to be just right before they acted. They decided they wanted something, and they went for it. The resolution to take action ignited their minds to think of ways to accomplish their goals. On top of that, they both gained tremendously in new confidence. It'll be much easier for both of them to take action in future situations.
Both of these examples point up the benefits of action. You give your ideas value by acting on them. Again, regardless of how good an idea is, it is useless until you act on it. A good idea not acted upon brings tremendous psychological pain, but a good idea acted upon brings enormous mental satisfaction and peace of mind.
I think it's the loneliest thing in the world to have people around you, but you can't really touch them and connect with them for who you really are because you just keep trying to give them who you think you're supposed to be. That's a lonely place. You think this message is just for single people? It's not. You think I'm talking about people who don't have followers on Instagram? I'm not. I think we all have spots. I used to not think that. I used to think certain people didn't. I used to be embarrassed because I thought I was the weird one. I think we all have insecurities. We don't wear them on the outside, so sometimes even the people who love us can't see what we really wrestle with.
Pain is not your enemy, pain is your servant. And pain is telling you that there's a problem here and you need to get it fixed. You need to drag it out of the dark and you need to deal with this, and you have to decide enough is enough. It's time for a new direction. It's time to say that's it. Turn to somebody and say that's it. Passivity is a spirit and it'll kill you. It'll kill your relationships. It'll kill your home. It'll kill your marriage. If we just sit back and do nothing, it'll kill you.
You're going to have to move ahead in spite of your fear. All right? I've said many times that every major decision in Saddleback's 42-year history that I had to make, I was scared to death to do it. I just did it anyway because I was not going to let fear dominate me. We're going to do the right thing. Never let fear stop you. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving ahead in spite of your fear. If you're not afraid, you don't need courage. You only have courage when you're scared to death and you do it anyway.
This is the truth, is that so many of us say that we want to change, but many of us are unwilling to pay the price to change. And really all of change comes from not focusing on what you can't control. It comes from focusing on what you can control. All of change has a price tag attached to it. That today, each and every one of us, we have to count the cost. Do we actually want to change? Are we willing to pay the price for change?
Stop expecting out of people what only God can give. This is why we get depressed. We keep waiting on people to complete us. If you wait on somebody to complete you, you are going to be in a constant state of suspension, LJ. They can help you. God can use people to bless you, but quit putting demands on people that are unreasonable.
Here's the truth. Change happens in a moment. It's results that require time. I just think there's so many people that are living today, especially in 2021, and we spend more time on our excuses than we do on execution. We're just full of excuses, just full of reasons as to why we can't start now. Oh man, I'm gonna start tomorrow. Some of you, you started the fast, and because you failed 3 days in, you just gave up on the rest of the 18 days. No. Start today. Begin again. You're failing in realizing that the most valuable thing that you have is today.
More and more people seem to be losing control of their lives, enslaved with habits that are robbing them of joy, robbing them of peace. They need healing of fear, healing of resentment and anger. The moment that you reach into the darkness and stop hiding your issues and you pull them out into the light, healing begins.
Why would you ever choose to fight time when you could have time on your side? Who wouldn't want to harness the great river of time that flows through all of life? Why wouldn't you want to use the power of time to generate power in every area of your existence, to turn the turbines of your hopes and dreams, to charge your every aspiration with lightning bolts of electricity? Well, there is only one way to make time work for you, not against you, and that's with patience.
I wonder for us, has never enough become our normal? Like, I'm not talking about last week or the week before that, and I'm not talking about bank account. I think the spirit of this age is the spirit of never enough. We can never get enough information. We can never get enough what we call connection. So now we call ourselves connected in the world because we have social media. See, to us now, it's just completely normal for us to be overloaded all the time and just to have access to everything that's happening in the world. And then we wonder, why are we so fearful? Why can't we feel? It's because we were never intended to carry so much in our minds and in our hearts. But to us, it's just normal. Many of us are used to never really getting a good night's sleep. It's just normal.
You need to make a plan. If you're going to build a better future, you got to have a plan for your life. You have to have a life plan. You need to write down a simple plan and get started on building a better future. Now, it's not going to happen without a plan. If you don't have a plan for a better future in your life, you're just going to coast. And you can't coast into a better you. You can't drift into a better future. It takes intention and it takes planning. Now, I'm sure you've heard the old cliche, if you're failing to plan, you're planning to fail. Now, that may be a cliche, but you know what? It's still true. Nothing's going to happen in your life till you first get dissatisfied with what you're doing, take a good look at what's going on inside your soul, and then you come up with a simple plan.
I would encourage you to be a transformational person. You see, transformational people, they inspire others in such a way that they positively bring change into people's lives. To be a transformational person, you have to first be transformed. So I would encourage you, make the changes necessary in your life that make you a better person. What I've discovered is that most incredible positive change happens when we begin to embrace good values. You have to kind of leave something to go to something, and what I encourage people all the time is leave the bad habits to go to the good habits, and leave the bad values and go to the good values. That's where you begin to see the change, the transformation take place. Here's what I do know. The moment that you see the change happen inwardly, it begins to positively affect the behavior outwardly. When that happens, you become contagious.
You got to focus on your strengths. When you're hungry to win, you spend your time and your energy being a warrior, not a worrier. No, you don't expend time worrying because you want to get in a fight mode. And when you have something that you want to do, when life has knocked you down and slapped you around, in order for you to get back up, you got to be hungry to win. I was determined to become successful in this area. Why, Les? Because I was hungry to take care of my mother. And so when you're hungry to win, you realize this. Number one, you go all out. That's what it takes now to make it now. In order to win, in order to create a different life for yourself, You got to be hungry.
Whatever you're up against, whatever you're going through, this is only a test.
Be stubborn about your goals. Be stubborn. Don't give up on your goals. You will fail your way to success. Don't give up on your goal. You don't have to figure it out. Get started. Do what you can with what you have.
Maybe you're unhappy right now with your current job. Maybe you're unhappy right now with your kids, or maybe you're unhappy with your health, or maybe you're unhappy with the season of life you find yourself in. Has it ever occurred to you that you are not there by coincidence, but rather you are there by providence? See, there's a reason for your season. There's purpose in your pain. There is a design in the disaster. There's hope in the hurt. I think it's time for a turnaround.
Person's strengths are often their biggest weaknesses. And so that also means that their weaknesses can be their strengths. So, me, I am weak. In all those ways that I listed, I am weak, but I don't accept that. I don't accept that I am what I am and that is what I'm doomed to be. No. I don't accept that. I'm fighting. I'm always fighting. I'm struggling and I'm scrapping and I'm kicking and clawing at those weaknesses to change them, to stop them. Some days I win. Some days I don't. But each and every day I get back up and I move forward with my fists clenched toward the battle, toward the struggle. And I fight with everything I've got to overcome those weaknesses and those shortfalls and those flaws. As I strive to be just a little bit better today than I was yesterday.
We all live in this bubble. What you gotta do to get the life that God wants you to have, you gotta put more air in your bubble. You got to blow your bubble up. Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. Put some more air in your bubble. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
Everything about this life has created a sense of urgency, and everybody has been scattered. And that's what I believe is happening right now. This is when survival instincts kicks in. This is when it's real. This is when it's about you, your survival instincts, and God.
Voluntarily encountering something you're afraid of is not the same thing as running from it. Like, it's seriously not the same thing. You don't get less afraid. You get braver. That's better, because there's plenty of things to be afraid of.
If you don't engage intensity or passion in your life, then you aren't living your life to its fullest. A lot of you have been influenced and surrounded by other adults who make fun of people who are intense or passionate about their life. And that's unfortunate, because you've taken it to heart and mind and you're afraid of engaging it yourself. Not just in exercise, but in everything you do. Intensity, passion for something will win out over knowledge, skills, natural talent, natural gifts every single time. Not that that stuff is not important, but there are many examples throughout history of people simply because they were intense in an unusual, sometimes off-putting way, aggressive, assertive, determined to do what they had in their mind to do. They make monuments to those people. And those are the people that inspire me.
Look, I'd love to sugarcoat this thing for you. I'd love to tell you, look, you can go out here and get rich, do a couple of things. That ain't happening. You got to get real doggish. You got to get downright funky if you want to make it. Now, like I was telling you before, if you want to be ordinary, you ain't even got to listen to me. Just go on about your business. If you think ordinary's cool, ain't no problem. It's some really, really wonderful ordinary people. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're going to have to do extra. It's no other way. I'm sorry.
Just because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Right.
You got to keep pressing forward. You got to keep pushing on, and you got to make a choice there that no matter what, I will not give up. I am never out of the fight.
And if you can't summon up the energy, the excitement, the enthusiasm for something, then your life every day is going to be a drag to wake up to. When you crawl out from underneath the covers every morning and you sit on the edge of the bed, you have a choice before you. I mean, we didn't make the world the way it is. It's filled with alternatives. Always will be. Until we aren't here anymore, it will always be alternatives. There will always be the good, there will always be the bad. There will always be the beautiful, there will always be the ugly. There will always be the excellent, and there will always be the incompetent. There will always be what is wonderful and what is horrible. We didn't make the rules of the world. So fighting against that fact, that axiomatic truth that the world is created of alternatives is just a waste of energy. But spending your energy on your choices that you make every day is where the secret lies, is where the worthiness lies, is where the value in life lies.
Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life. It ain't but 24 hours in a day. You cannot be sleep 8 hours a day. You can't live in LA and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. The stock market been open 2 hours. They already making decisions about your life and your ass will sleep. He who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night.
Every morning you wake up, there are two doors, and there are thundering knocks at each one of them. Behind one lies your destiny and living. Behind the other lies death. Being alive, having breath, your heart pumping blood, you being able to see through your eyes, that's not living, that's being alive. Stick your chest and your chin straight out and welcome the first full blow of the day. Living is engaging your life with intensity and passion at some point in time. At least at some point in time, even for a little bit of time, every day.
When you go through a change of state of consciousness, state of awareness, state of perception, then many people go out of your life that were in before and other people come in. Changes happen in your life. Some of them you don't like, but what it is, it's just the old life created by the old energy field, created from the old perception, breaking down so another one can come in. And it happens because when we change, our energy changes, and therefore what it attracts changes because we are in control, if only we realize that and take it back. And it's interesting, you know, when you start to change your perception and you want to be spiritual, as they say, what kind of goes on in your mind is, now I want to be spiritual, everything's going to change and I'm going to go down leafy lanes with little nymphs and butterflies are going to drop on my arm and it's going to be lovely because I'm spiritual now. And what happens? All hell often breaks loose in your life. It bloody well did in mine. And what happens then is we think, if this is spirituality, 2 years into this journey of mine, conscious journey, I thought, if this is spirituality, you can stick it, this is no fun. Because everything in my life broke down. But if we understand what's happening, then the pain of that breakdown can be very, very much diminished. Because what we're putting out before the change are vibrational fields that attract certain vibrational fields back, which we call a life, people, places, ways of life, experiences. When we change, shift our consciousness, there is that transitional point where the old construct, vibrational construct, starts to break down so the new one can come in. And if the old one doesn't break down, the new one can't come in. And at that time, we experience it as all hell's breaking loose in our lives. But what's actually happening is the old is crumbling so the new can be. And on a collective level, that is what we're experiencing now. We're experiencing the breakdown of the old collective order as this vibrational change moves on, and it seems as if the world's falling apart. What it gives us the opportunity to do is to break out of the enslavement of the old structure, the old system, and build another one, put another one in its place.
This is strange how an identity evaporates that seemed so solid and real. And so form, we're talking about form identity. That is when you're asked, who are you? Or you ask yourself, who am I? Okay, now is that all there is to who you are? Is that what can be defined through form, what can be that which is form, thought forms, emotional forms, physical forms, a conglomeration of that put together for a while becomes what you think is I. Is that really your I, your identity? Or is there something else? Well, perhaps we can just, at this moment, see, as you sit here, right at this moment, you don't remember your past. You don't have to. Let's pretend you don't have one. You have no past. There is no past. Let's say there is no past. Which, by the way, is the truth. Ultimately, there is no past. There's only the now. So, okay. And no future. Let's pretend there's no future. Well, there is no future anyway, but there's only this. So you can't remind yourself, you don't even, unless there's a thought in your head that says, I am such and such, even that you don't know right now. Let's say you don't know anything about who you are. Nothing that you can formulate, conceptualize, call something. You don't. What is left? Is there, what is lost? Nothing is lost. In fact, when you encounter this which cannot be named, which is a formless presence, aliveness, that's you've touched that which is beyond form, consciousness itself. And that is identity. That is where your sense of I comes from. And so you are more truly yourself when you don't remember your past than when you do remember your past. And you are more truly yourself when there's not a single thought in your head than when you are full of thinking about me and my problems. And whenever you feel this sense of I, the light of consciousness, which you can know directly in the stillness that is always there, available to you as the essence, your essence identity, timeless, That's always there, and that is one with universal consciousness. It's just coming through this form.
Straightforward. If you're obsessed by memories of the past, more than 18 months old, and most of those are negative, so anxiety provoking most often, then there's a lot of you that's stuck in the past. And what that means is you didn't map the territory well enough, and the parts of your brain that are alarm systems, anxiety systems, are saying, no, there's holes in the way you're looking at the world. There's holes in the way that you're looking in the world. And you fell in them once, and you don't know where they are, and you don't know how to fill them, and you don't know how to walk around them, and so you can't forget them, and you can't forget them, you can't forget them, you can't forget them. So you have recurring nightmares, for example, or a good example of that sort of thing happen. But in any case, if you have memories like that, you remember them, they make you feel anxious and negative, you're stuck back there. Your body is still reacting as if there's an emergency that could happen again that you haven't fixed. And it doesn't matter if it was your fault, that's irrelevant, because the alarm system doesn't care. Like, when your smoke detector goes off, it isn't relevant whether it was your fault. The smoke detector just says, house is on fire, and that's a bad thing. And your anxiety systems are like that. If they're tagging old memories with anxiety, then you have to do something about it, or you will be tortured by those memories forever, because that's how the alarm system works. And so maybe you need to go back there and clean things up. You got to figure out, okay, well, how did this happen? What sort of role did I play? Even if it's a minor role, that doesn't matter, because the point is that you don't want to be put in the same vulnerable position again. So anything you can do to strengthen yourself is good. You know, and often if it's a really old memory, like maybe you were a child, you're not a child now, so you probably have a variety of techniques at hand that you could use to deal with a situation like that if it came up now. And so you have to update that part of your brain that still thinks you're 4. And lots of people have parts of them that are still stuck in some traumatic childhood experience. And they don't. I had a friend like that who had a terrible childhood, and I mean really, I've had clients with terrible childhoods, and his was like top of the lobster hierarchy in terms of terrible childhoods. And whenever he had a dream about it, which was very often, he was 5 in his dream. He's 58. You know, he's not 5, but hadn't been updated, so he was still 5 in his dreams. It was a complete bloody nightmares for him. Complete with all sorts of terrible physiological symptoms, really hurting his life. He couldn't get himself updated. And he's much older in his dreams now, by the way. He's up to about 45, so which is way better than 5, you know, because you can't fight back when you're 5, but you can fight back when you're 45, especially if you have some experience at your disposal.